In March of 2023, the YouTube channel Grim Life Collective did a video on the filming locations of the original 1933 King Kong. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link in the description because it is well worth watching. Some of the questions and uncertainties raised in their video piqued my own interest in doing some follow-up research. While knees-deep in questions of King Kong's thematic meaning and its place in Hollywood history, I've never really thought much about where it was filmed. And Grim Life Collective had a difficult subject to work with because, to be honest, King Kong didn't really have a whole lot of filming locations. Almost all of it was shot on sound stages and Willis O'Brien's stop-motion workshop. The best investigative work in the Grim Life video was their visiting Outer Harbor Berth 46 in Long Beach, California, and correlating the view from the dock to Cabrillo Beach, which was the filming location for the beach at Skull Island. Scenes on the dock and some scenes on the Venture were filmed on a steamer at this location, and they set up a glass matte painting that blended Cabrillo Beach across the harbor into the fictional Skull Island. Cabrillo Beach is also where they filmed Landfall on Skull Island. As for the rest, well, it gets more complicated and involves a lot more research. Online sources mention Bronson Cave in Griffith Park, but I can't see that being useful for anything they couldn't have just done on a soundstage. The scene Grim Life speculated on, where Jack Driscoll is trapped in a cave above the spider pit, was definitely filmed on a soundstage, using an early, unarticulated mock-up of Kong's hand, and, as I'll talk about in a moment, filmed before there was even a finished script for King Kong. The real question is, where were those soundstages? At the beginning of the video, Grim Life visited the Hollywood Forever Cemetery and the grave of Fay Wray. Abutting the cemetery is Paramount Pictures, part of which was, at one time, RKO Pictures. The western quarter of the studio, between Gower Street and roughly east of Avenue E inside the Paramount lot, was RKO Pictures from 1928 to 1957, when it was purchased by Desilu, which was in turn bought out by Paramount in 1966 for their expansion into television. However, it was unlikely that Fay Wray ever stepped foot in this part of RKO, at least not for King Kong. RKO Stage 3, which is currently renumbered to Paramount Stage 25, was where Willis O'Brien set up his miniature workshop. This was the location where King Kong came alive. The same stage was used for the effect shots in Son of Kong as well, when it went into production in late March 1933. For the human actors, they played their part down in Culver City. In 1931, RKO Pictures merged with Pathé and acquired Cecil B. DeMille's studio in Culver City. After changing hands many more times since then, it is currently operating as Culver Studios and home to Amazon's film wing. It was at this site, 9336 Washington Boulevard, Culver City, California, and specifically on Stage 11, where the jungle scenes in both King Kong and The Most Dangerous Game were filmed. RKO's financial status in the early 30s, at the height of the Great Depression, required some creative accounting. Feature films were capped at a $200,000 budget, and King Kong was going to go well above that. So an open secret was that money from other budgets was reallocated to Kong in one way or another. That included building jungle sets out of Most Dangerous Game's budget and reusing them for King Kong. In fact, as early as May 1932, before Kong's script was even finalized, Merian C. Cooper was already borrowing time and talent shooting Skull Island scenes in between takes on The Most Dangerous Game, including the scene of Jack Driscoll trapped in the cave. Another cost-saving measure was redressing an existing set for the Great Wall and its massive gates. Out back of the DeMille studio was a 29-acre parcel of backlot nicknamed the 40 Acres, or the Back 40. It was on this parcel that DeMille filmed his 1927 religious epic about Jesus, King of Kings. One of the sets from King of Kings was the massive Jerusalem Temple, with its pillars and curtain. These were kept around and proved useful when redressed for King Kong. The 20-foot aperture where the torn curtain hung became the gate. The temple pillars were interspersed with village huts from RKO's Bird of Paradise, a project that went massively over budget and led to the $200,000 cap to begin with. Together, these two sets created the exotic Skull Island Village, its thatch huts in the shadows of monumental architecture left behind by distant ancestors. The gates were reused again for Bela Lugosi's 1934 serial, Return of Chandu, and Merian C. Cooper's 1935 epic She, but their last film role came in 1939. David O. Selznick leased the 40 acres in 1935 for the filming of his Civil War epic Gone with the Wind. While most of the existing sets could be redressed as Atlanta, the Kong gates needed to be cleared out entirely, providing both a challenge and an opportunity. The challenge was that they needed to be cleared out to make room for the Atlanta train depot and Terra sets for Gone with the Wind. The opportunity was to set them ablaze and film the burning of Atlanta scene first. A controlled fire gave them the chance to film this dramatic scene and clear the property at the same time. And so, the magnificent temple in Jerusalem and gates of King Kong's Skull Island went out heroically on film. Literally in a blaze of glory. At least their destruction was saved for posterity. Which is why there's no actual plot of land to see the gates anymore, but we do have a physical address for the gates. Correlating Google Maps with aerial pictures from the excellent site on the 40 acres at RetroWeb, link in the description, gives us the wall's former location, an office building housing 8631, 35, 51, and 53 Hayden Place, Culver City. The 40 acres fell into various different hands throughout its history, including Desilu's and then Paramount's, who in turn sold it off again. It was finally bulldozed in 1976, and its land sold off to become the industrial park and offices it is today. Unfortunately, being here on the Canadian prairies, far away from the limelights of Los Angeles, I don't have the opportunity to actually up and visit these locations myself. This filming location video had to be done virtually. I would suggest that if you do want to go visit these sites yourself, just be respectful of private property and its occupants. And send me some photos too.